Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Standout Authors Unbound. And today I'm on Samantha Gregory. Samantha, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the work you do and how you got into your writing?
Sure. So I'm Samantha Gregory, the self-care alchemist, and also the author of the book No More Crumbs, How to Stop Dating and Mating for Crumbs and Get the Cake You Deserve in 10 Crucial Steps. And it's kind of like my manifesto of memoir slash manifesto of my own ups and downs in toxic relationships and the recovery process. And in it, I also help women and men to learn how to center themselves and self love and what I now call self devotion. I run the Self Care Oasis podcast and the newsletter here on Substack, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you, Kevin.
Yeah, amazing. What got you into the self-care space? What was there a specific event or was it just something that developed over time or how did that happen?
Yeah, yeah, it was a specific event. Sort of, kinda. It was I guess, a culmination. It was like a pivotal moment in my life when I got a diagnosis of early menopause. I was only 33 years old, and it had been a series of events happening from childhood to that point, and I when I got the diagnosis, I recognized and realized that I wasn't taking care of myself. I was not centering myself and putting, the care that I was putting in other people and other my career and school and everything else, I needed to start focusing on myself. And so that started the journey of self-care. And now I am helping other women who have had similar issues, and realizations come to the place where self-care, self-devotion is, the central part of their lives, and they put themselves at the top of the list instead of at the bottom.
Yeah, I think we can oftentimes try to please everyone. We're like, I gotta help all these other people, but if you can't help yourself first, it makes it
Absolutely.
very difficult to help other people because
Mhm.
you're only working at your best if you work on yourself first.
Absolutely. I always say you gotta fill your cup up to the brim and until it's overflowing and only give from the overflow because that way you have enough energy for yourself so that the overflow is a space where the extra lives and where you can help others as well.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about some of the events or things that you were doing that weren't focusing on yourself?
Well, people pleasing was a big part of it. I think a lot of people, especially when you're overachiever, you're driven, and you're also taking care of other people. So I was taking care of my kids, I was taking care of family members, my employer, everyone else. And so I think that was the biggest give. And then the other was just not taking time to really rest. I was going, I felt like almost 24/7, and because I had what I thought the energy to do it, I thought I could use all that energy up, but that wasn't very effective, it wasn't sustainable. My capacity was decreasing every single year, much less every day, but, so that along with just never really understanding that I don't have to always say yes to every opportunity, every, request. So my no button was broken. And so I had to really learn how to, say no more and recognize that I wasn't gonna miss out on anything. I think FOMO was also a big part of it.
Mm.
Like, I'm gonna miss out on this opportunity or that, you know, experience, but it wasn't really true because the thing that was really meant for me would come back around eventually.
Mm. Yeah, I think anything that we really need to or want to do has a tendency to call back to us many times.
Yeah.
Like we can say no to things, and if they're right for us, they will show up. I just believe that's the way the universe works. I don't know why that is or how that
Right.
is. I don't know that anyone can explain it, but there's a tendency for, especially if you have ideas that you put to the back burner, they'll
Mhm.
constantly nag at you until you take intentional action on it.
Yeah, and I also think that if it's oftentimes the things that we think we want or need or the idea we have is not fully baked, and we have to have a few more experiences in order for it to be
Mm,
fully baked and for us to understand, "Okay, this is where this slot goes," because at first it's like this big cauldron of ideas with no real place for it to land. And you're not necessarily ready either. So it can simmer on the back burner for a while until now is time. This is the right moment. This is the right conditions for this to really now be ready for you to either take advantage of, launch, or whatever it is that the idea or thing is like, okay, now it's ready. Now it's fully baked and now you can go forward with it.
Yeah. Do you have a system or way of knowing, what things you want to say yes to? Because you said you started saying no to a lot of things. Is there
Oh,
a
yeah,
way
yeah.
do you intuit it, or is there a different way that you look at it?
Yes, I intuit it a lot. I have now learned how to reconnect with my body, reconnect with my internal knowing and discernment system, and now that I'm able to do that, if it doesn't light me up, if it's not a heck yeah, let me go ahead and do this because this makes me feel really good. But I've also discovered too, I don't know if you've heard or much about human design, but I know for me, my human design is an emotional manifesting generator. And so I have to wait for my emotional wave to kind of level out before I'm in a good position to say yes or no to that thing. And all the times I look like I got to sleep on it or if it's like a kind of mediocre small decision, but if it's a big decision, I literally have to wait until I'm no longer fully excited about it or kind of dreading it. I have to let my emotions settle before I'm sure that this is a thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of, human design is that we're all built differently.
Yeah.
So just because that's the way that it worked for you doesn't mean that everyone should listen to that and say,
Right.
"Oh, yes, I should also do this." And
Right.
it's not realizing through trial and error or answering a
Mhm.
bunch of questions about yourself, what are the things that work for me versus, works for
Mm.
you because
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
works completely differently.
Right, but I intuitively kinda knew that, but, before I learned about human design, because I would look at my energy level and the excitement about a certain thing, and I recognize when someone says, "Yeah, we should go on a trip to this place," and if I immediately say yes, and then, a few weeks pass, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't think I really wanna do that," you know? So that was really my internal system telling me to wait before I give an answer, and then allow that emotional the excitement of the trip or the excitement of that thing to settle first before I can come back and say, I don't really feel that's the right thing for me at this time," or, "You know what? I still do wanna go. What's the deposit information? How do I pay for it? Blah, blah, blah. Let's move forward."
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, your writing journey? Were you always a writer? Is this something that you always wanted to do was write a book, or is it something that developed when you made this change?
Interestingly enough, I've always been an avid reader, and I didn't realize at the time that being an avid reader helped me become a better writer. Ironically, in high school, my English teacher was like, "Yeah, you're just a mediocre C student, and you're really not gonna get you very far." And that was really discouraging. So I never really thought that I could be a writer in that way, but I just knew that I wanted to be an editor, like a magazine editor or book editor at some point because, again, I love reading. But then when I went back to school, I was a single mom, went back to school, and I took an English class, and I was just like, "Wow, literature," and I was like, "I could literally have a degree in this." So, I went down that path, and I got a degree in English with an emphasis on professional writing. So, I literally learned how to write in college and got a degree in that, and but being an author, that wasn't really on my radar until I kept having these experiences and sharing them with people, and then I said, I just should just write a book about what happened and how I navigated through that rough time in my life and give people some hope that you can come out on the other side of this a better person, more grounded, and equipped to recognize um, when other possible toxic people come into your life and how to manage that.
Mm, yeah, I think it's so important to realize, those types of things because if you don't realize that someone is having a negative effect on you and you
Mhm.
continue to keep them in your life, you're like, "I have this weight on me, but I don't know why that is."
Right.
So always I think self-awareness is probably the biggest thing about happiness and
Mhm.
living the best life that you can, because if you're not aware of all the stuff around you, you can continue to let things affect you negatively.
Absolutely. But I think you have to think you have to slow down enough to be able to think about what's happening critically. And yes, you need to feel it as well. But like you said, sometimes we know there's a weight on us, but we don't know why is there or how long we're going to allow it to stay there. But if we're distracted by social media, by our jobs, by, other things happening, we don't really take time to just kind of quiet life, quiet our minds so that we can really think through, is this working for me? Is this serving me? Am I happy? And asking those questions so that you can make a decision about whether you want this toxic person to stay in your life or if you want to release them. I call it releasing them. Um, and reclaim yourself because oftentimes in toxic relationships we lose ourselves. So this is how we can reclaim ourselves and become more aware, more self-aware so that we can set ourselves up for a better experience the next time.
Mm. There's a thing that I do every day. It's kind of like a journal, but it's more question prompts
Uh-huh.
that help me discover my life just by asking myself the same questions. They are, what is something that you did today to move yourself forward?
Mhm.
What is something that surprised you today? Uh,
Mhm.
what is a question that you have that came up because of all the stuff that you did today? And what is one thing that you can celebrate? So
Mhm.
by looking at all these aspects of my life every day, I
Mhm.
can both discover how I am approaching every day, but I also can look back in time and remember things a lot more easily,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, I love that. That's so important. I think just the introspection on a daily basis is so important, and having that journal prompt experience just makes it a richer exploration of who you are, and it does help you to understand and know who you are much better. Because I think even that part, knowing yourself, is where a lot of people have. mm, it's not on the top of their list to really know me so I can accept me and then truly love me so that when I love myself the way that I want someone else to love me, you now know what's the blueprint. You now know what it looks like and what it should feel like, and you're able to when that something different happens, it's like, yeah, no, that's not the love I'm looking for. You can go on about your plans and your life, but I'm gonna wait until see the love that I recognize because I've given it to myself.
Yeah. And it's really important for seeing patterns and themes
Mhm.
develop. When you tend to write things down, you can
Right.
dissect them a lot better. It's not all up here because
Mhm. Mhm.
the trouble most of us have is everything is up here. There's no way for us to really organize that if it just stays up here. But
Right.
if you either talk it out loud or write it down or any of these
Mhm.
things where you're actually physically or you know doing things instead of just thinking, you
Right.
have a better perspective of yourself and all the things that affect you. Right?
Mhm. And you asked the question, was I always a writer? I think in that way I am, because journaling has always been a really big part of who I am because I've always felt like this cluttered, cloudy mind that's swirling around with all these thoughts and not being able to really solve the problem that I was experiencing. If I wrote it down and got it out of my head and onto paper, and now I use my tablet, with my pen, it just makes it so much better, not just for me to be able to express myself and to release that tension and the valve of pressure that I'm feeling in my brain, but also to be able to express myself better and to write better and to just be able to communicate in a more maybe dynamic way with other people and be able to empathize with other people as well because I think journaling is a way to empathize with yourself
Mm.
because you are literally pouring it out on paper and you're allowing yourself to release that tension, that pressure, um so you can kind of not just feel it through in your body, but okay, now I can see what's happening and you're not so caught up or blind to what's happening to you. You can be the observer now instead of the one that's really, kind of drowning in the experience.
Oh, yeah. I think we've lost touch. I think there in the past, probably before the internet, there a lot of people kept journals, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was the way that people were able to really think about the world and themselves and their place in the
Mhm.
world. But now that we have the ability to instantly be distracted for infinite amounts of time for
Right.
the rest of our lives, right? As long
Mhm.
as the world stays the way that it does, we can just keep ourselves entertained and not worry about anything else happening. So I
Yeah.
think it's so important that people take the time to really document the world, especially now, the way
Mhm.
that the world has been developing in the last
Absolutely.
decade or so. It's really important for everybody to empathize with each other.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Um, can you talk about your process of writing the book itself?
Sure. It's so interesting. When decided I was gonna write the book, I was trying to just sit down and write it all out or type it out, but I was kinda coming up against a block. And then, I decided, okay, I'm just going every morning when I wake up, I'm going to write 1,000 words. And so that's what I did. I wrote 1,000 words, and it was a stream of consciousness kind of writing because I wanted to just get it all out of my head first, kind of journal style. Um, but that method helped me so much because I was able to write the book in, I know it was maybe less than 6 weeks or so, because I just allowed it to flow from me versus try to force it. And then I can go back and edit it, I could organize it, and I can make it make sense. And then, of course, I got an editor, and then I had a proofreader. So that was a basic process. It was every morning waking up, writing 1,000 words, and then releasing it and do it again the next day until I felt I had enough materials. But I also interviewed quite a few people through kind of a survey that I put out of women who had gone through toxic relationships and how they got in it, what was it like being in it, and how did they escape from it or release that person. So that was really an interesting part of the book as well. So it was. Um, like I said, the first part was my story. The second part was a combination of here's some strategies and tips to no longer to get out of the toxic relationships and how to start to love yourself so that you can equip yourself and be steeled against, I guess, additional toxic relationships because you now either recorded it, you know what it looks like, and you're healing yourself so that you're not relying on someone else to heal you or fix you or rescue you.
Mm. Yeah, I think the only way that that we can fix ourselves is through ourselves, right? You can't
Mhm, mhm.
have anybody else. I mean, obviously, people can help you through it, but ultimately,
Sure.
we are the ones who are in this space with this person or this
Mhm.
situation, and we're the only ones that can really make the change effectively, right? People can
Absolutely.
try to help us in that situation, but we are the only ones who can really affect our lives. And I think that goes
Mm.
for not just relationships, but pretty much anything that that
Yes.
happens in your life. And I think one thing that if you focus on the outside forces versus the inside, you can get
Mhm.
caught up with why aren't things going my way? But the only thing we can
Yes.
affect is ourselves.
Absolutely, and I think that the search for external validation and approval is the downfall of many because, like you said, we're individuals, we have different experiences, we have different ways of coping and dealing with life, but the more you search for external validation and approval, the less power you have. You're giving all that power away to someone else, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's an advisor. I'm not saying that it's not good to have counsel. Yes, absolutely, but not to rely on that. but learn to trust yourself and that you have answers already inside of you, if you would just trust yourself. But, of course, in our society and school, we're taught not to trust ourselves, and especially in religious circles or, very strict conservative circles, it's a very much you must trust the leader of your whatever tribe you're in, whether it's religious, political, whatever, versus trusting yourself. So I firmly believe in you've got to learn how to trust yourself, but that starts with safety. That starts with I make good decisions, and those being incrementally better and better decisions because it doesn't happen all at once,
Mhm.
especially if that's not the space you've been in for your entire life.
Oh, that's I think that's such an important point, not just for relationships or changes
Mhm.
in that aspect, but just in any part of our lives where we're
Mhm.
expecting the instant results. I just
Right.
wrote about this. It's like we have this social media telling us, "Oh, you should have a million followers or
Right.
whatever, however many likes on your videos or whatever the fame of this person or whatnot." But I think there's no instant way to achieve anything. It it,
Absolutely.
it takes a lot of work and effort even
Mhm.
when you have those, like, lucky strikes that people have, uh, there's a lot of bunch of work that went up to that point in order to
Right.
that luck happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we're honest with ourselves about, the incremental growth that it takes to get from the to get to the goal, I guess, that you're trying to reach, then you'll have more compassion on yourself, with yourself, and you'll be more compassionate with other people because we don't try to force a newborn baby to walk right away. That would be ridiculous. So we have to release that pressure on ourselves to try to walk before we can crawl, before we can scoot along the sofa or and to stand and to even balance. It takes time to do those things. And whether it's in a relationship you're ending and trying to recover and find yourself, or if it's a career or business, whatever it is, it's like, yeah, it takes some time. It takes intention, and it takes decisive action and inspired action to actually get where you want to be.
Yeah, and I also think it takes, experimentation and the
Absolutely.
willingness to fail.
Yes.
Like, a lot of things that we don't do are because we're afraid of making a mistake or
Hmm.
the result, but what is the worst that can happen? In most cases, the worst that can happen is, like, very minuscule,
Yeah.
but as, like, humans,
Hmm.
we've evolved into this space where we're trying to just protect ourselves.
Hmm.
As we just listen to our brain telling us, "Oh, this is something that's gonna harm you." And it's no
Right.
longer like lions or whatever trying to attack us in the night. It's like, "Oh, do I wanna send this email?" or something
Right.
very minute.
Yes. Absolutely. And we try to make our day one someone else's day 2001. And it's not realistic. Is they had to start at day one too. And when we realize that, again, we start to be more realistic yet intentional about the steps we're taking, understanding that everyone's different, everybody's path is different, everyone's journey is different, and it's perfect. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. It's perfect. Where you are now is perfect, and it just gets better if you allow yourself to be strategic, incremental, and just take it one day at a time.
Yeah. We we just want it we just wanna take a time machine, I guess, and
Yes.
just jump to the point, but I've read so many stories of successful people saying, "I hit this point and I'm like, now what?" Right?
Yeah.
Because you can watch the success, but
Mhm.
the gratitude of the process and the things that you did to get there are why that success are ultimately worth the journey, right? It's not.
Right, right. 'Cause it's like you mentioned experimenting, but it's also about the experience that you're having along the way, the people you meet along the way, because if we jump from 1 to 100 instantly, we miss all the people along the way, we miss all the experiences, we miss the detours and the scenic route and all the things, while we are trying to rush a process, and, usually it is about the journey and not the destination that we're trying to get to. So if we can allow that, then I think we'll have a richer experience along the way, and then we'll have more stories to tell about how we got there.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I think there's like an example of lottery winners. They
Mhm.
win a bunch of money and they just blow it all at one
Right.
time. Oh, I have no more money now, and uh,
Mhm.
was it worth it? Right? I have
Right.
like the goal for most people is to have a bunch of money, but you want the money so that you can do the things you want to do, not the other way
Mhm.
around. Like, what is the point of the money? Is just to live the life you want to live.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Um, can you talk about promoting your book, some of the
Okay.
things that you did for that, and how the success or failures that went along the way?
Sure, sure. So I self-published it in 2012, and it was on Amazon, and for the first I think it was October, so it was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I promoted it, and I got quite a few downloads, like over 1,000 downloads, during that time. And then since then, I have just been, like, coming on podcasts, I've been talking writing articles and talking about the book, and of course, the more I talk about it, the more I sell. So I think that's the main thing that people don't really recognize or realize. Whether you are a New York Times published author or New York published author or a self published author, is still going to be about your platform, the people, and the effort you take on a consistent basis to get consistent sales. Because the reality is, having a book, writing a book, that's not where the money is made. It's made from the expertise that you put into the book and the speaking engagements and the coaching that comes from that. So I look at it from that perspective. I'm not a New York Times bestselling author. I've not sold over 1,000,000 books. I don't even think I've sold over 2,000 copies of my book, maybe more. I'm not sure, but I'm excited because I get to share my story with other people. I get to, get into rooms because of my book. So the back end sales, as it were, is much more than the actual number of books I've sold and the amount of money that I made from that.
Yeah, I think people have a perception of even those people who are on the New York Times bestseller list.
Mhm.
They're not making the majority of their money from the
Right.
book. They might be getting like a $200,000 advance, but have to spend that money on all the promotion and marketing, and all this stuff, and by the end of it,
Mhm.
you have how much money, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
unless you're like Stephen King or one of those
Right.
types that
Or the
write,
Obamas.
yeah, you're really not making it from the book itself, but
Right.
it is part of the equation. So there's
Mhm.
so many parts of an equation for success, and
Right.
especially if you're a nonfiction writer, uh,
Mhm.
the success comes in the recognition, like you
Yes.
said, expertise, talking to people because I'm
Mhm.
opening up opportunities, and it's not something you do to make money.
Right.
You just hope that the book makes enough money that you got your money back, right?
Yeah, 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 I can say that for sure. So but it is like a business card, of sorts, because when you can say when you hand a person a business card, you hand them your book, they're gonna take the book because they get to know more about you, they get to know your story, they feel connected to you, in a way where just a quick 5-minute conversation on a business card can't really give you. So I really enjoyed that part of it, and then there's some bragging rights too, so I really like that too, so I get to put that on it's credentialing. It's kind of validation in a way as well. So I'm thankful that I wrote the book, and I've written a couple of other books as well. I've done several, collaborative projects too.
Mm,
So the book helped me even get to that
oh,
point
great,
as
of
well.
course.
Yeah.
And I think speaking of collaboration, I think collaboration is so essential in
Mhm.
having a book, right?
Yeah.
It's not just you writing the book and like, okay,
Mhm.
this is done now. Let me just throw it out into the world and see what
Right.
happens.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Coming on speaking on other people's platforms, and not just that part, but I think is what's the shift and impact that you're making in someone else's life because of the book? I think that's what I look at the most because, for a person who can't, like, afford my coaching services, they can read the book and they can get the information that I'm sharing. It won't be necessarily personalized or customized, but they can still take it and they can disseminate it into their own life experience. And they can share it with other people and they can, this year will look a lot different than last year, if they implement what they have
Mhm.
read from the book.
Yeah. So if you're a nonfiction author and you're looking for the book as a tool, it's also
Hmm.
like a good way to have like a low price point so that it can help a vast amount of people versus just the people who can afford to pay you for the
Right.
personalized services, because that's often the element of more expensive things.
Hmm.
Why you can charge more for certain things is because you're working physically with like another person and you're taking their attention and the time and the research and all of that that goes
Hmm.
into that versus a message that can be shared with everyone through a book is a good avenue because anyone can take it and do it themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a great tool to add to a toolbox for someone else.
Yeah, can you talk about some of the impact that this book has made and some of the things that people have said to you about the experience and reading the book?
Um, I've had a lot of people say that it's really changed their perspective and it's helped them to see that they don't have to settle for bad relationships or what I call crummy relationships. They feel more empowered. They feel that they have opened a whole different side of themselves and been able to explore who they are as an individual outside of being in a relationship, and that that's not the end all be all of life. um, I've people have said that it was an easy read for them. It was very easy to understand and to start to implement for themselves. And just hearing my own story, and the stories of the other women whom I've interviewed, they really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the writing process or the book process?
Hmm. Um, my favorite was actually writing, I think, because again, it was literally pouring out of me. It was flowing. And I was just thinking about one woman who would read it and would say, "Wow, okay, I don't have to settle for this kind of behavior from this person. I am worthy of more, and I get to release this without bitterness and focus on myself. That it's okay to focus on myself."
Hmm. Yeah. I love I think most people write to help other people. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, people can write for themselves. Well, at least in nonfiction. Fiction is a little bit different, right?
Right, right.
It's both for yourself and for an audience. But I think
Mhm.
nonfiction, you're usually writing to a theme or something along those lines. And I think it's so important to um, know that your end goal is to help people. Obviously, you
Mhm.
can write for yourself and release it for yourself, and that's completely fine. But if you really want to have an impact, you have to write it for other people.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I was doing. That's what I enjoy the most about it. I'm so thankful that so many people who did buy the book, download the book, have been impacted by it. And a lot of times when I'm selling a book, like at an event or something like that, they'll buy 2 or 3 because they wanna share it with someone else. So that's always cool to know that that's gonna be happening. It's gonna be distributed, much further than I expected it to be distributed.
Awesome. A few more questions left.
Mhm.
What what are some other who are some other authors that have had an impact on you in your writing or stand out?
Hmm, that's a good question. Writers like Octavia Butler, Toni Morrison, and I know a lot of them that both kinda wrote fiction, but it was still stories that resonated with me, and even though I'm not necessarily a fiction writer, but I love the way that they pulled you into the story and still the lessons were there. And I'm really big on what's the lesson? How can this, change how is this gonna change my life or change my perspective? I love analysis and, what's the meaning behind the words. So, they have really and of course, another one is Maya Angelou. Oh my god. I love reading her writing and just she's I mean, not just poetic, but, her life story and, seeing where she came from to where she ended up, and just the grace that she lived her life in.
Yeah. I think the importance of fiction is often lost on people who don't who just read nonfiction,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because the lessons that are in fiction are usually even more ingrained than the
Mhm,
ones that are in nonfiction because you connect so much more deeply with like characters and stuff versus someone telling you how to do something. So I think
mhm.
there's benefit in both fiction reading and nonfiction reading, which I'm sure because you're an avid reader,
Yeah.
you also realize those lessons and how that can actually help you become a better writer, even if you're doing nonfiction.
Yeah, and just the power of storytelling, being able to create worlds, create characters, and tell a story that's so resonant and, like you said, lasts, it stays with you for a long time. And it makes you think about, well, what's the symbolism in this? What was the underlying story? Not just a story, but the lesson, from this, and how will I apply it to my life? And it's also great conversation. I think reading makes you a great conversationalist as well. It gives you much to share and mull over and even debate depending on, the environment that you're in. But just offering great conversation, that's what a good book can do for you, whether it's a classic or something that's more recent. It just depends on, of course, the genre, the people that you're around.
Awesome. What lesson would you most like people to get from your writing?
Mm, that you can reinvent yourself. Life is not always gonna be the way it is today in this very moment. If you're going through a rough time, if you're going through challenging times, it doesn't mean that it's gonna last forever. And if you're tired of the way it is, change it. And it's easy to say. I know it's easy to say, but if you're determined, if you have a vision of your life and this ain't it, change it, reinvent yourself, and start again incrementally. But it starts with a decision first. If you're in a toxic workplace, toxic relationship, toxic family, you don't have to stay there. You can change that today. You can by deciding today. And once you make the decision, like to say, the universe conspires to help you navigate the changes that you want to see in your life, but you got to be courageous enough to say, this is not working and I'm going to make a change. I'm deciding now that I want it to be different. And so this time next year, it looks different. It feels different. And you're like, wow, how did I get here? Because you made a decision and because you decided just to reinvent your life, whether it's leaving the job, leaving that relationship, sometimes leaving a family structure because it's bad for you. Um, you'll find that again, this is goes back to the self devotion and self love that I talk about, putting yourself first in the equation versus giving all that power away to other people because you're looking for them to approve of you, love you, extract some kind of approval for you. Um, you then find that you're putting yourself first. You give yourself that, and now you can be courageous just a little bit more today, and then
Mhm.
1% tomorrow, and on and on and on to leave, to move, to restructure, or do whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah. I love how, even though your book is about relationship, it's really a lesson about trusting in yourself and
Yes.
your ability to change your life and
Mhm.
all that. Because I think one way to promote your book is a singular focus, which draws a bunch of people in. But the larger lesson that you're trying to teach people is that you can actually apply this to so many things. But the
Yes.
one thing is always the draw, right?
Yes.
You know, people in, and that's the thing that helps you spread like a general, overall, bigger message
Mhm.
of change and acceptance of self. Uh,
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
yeah, I actually believe that wholeheartedly because last year, this 1 year ago from Valentine's Day of last year, my
Mhm.
wife and I made the decision to leave the US and move to Costa Rica.
Okay,
And the only
great.
way we're going to be able to do that was to say that intentionally and
Mhm.
how the universe was going to help us to achieve this. And you can only do that one piece at a time
Yes.
through it. And we've been here for since June of last year. So
Okay.
it only took a few months for us to actually have that happen. So
Right.
whatever you want to happen, it's possible within reason, obviously.
Mhm.
Not gonna be an NBA player if you've never played. So within reason, the things that you want to achieve are possible.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that for you guys. I love that you decided, okay, yeah, we're this is not where we wanna be anymore. We're gonna move, and you just decided that because you wanted it, it will happen, and you started just making plans for that. So and that's really all life is deciding and making the plan and then allowing the universe to, open all the windows and the doors so that you can walk through, but you gotta be courageous enough to do it.
Yeah, you can't just say, "Why am I not doing X?" if you
Mhm.
not attempted to do it, right?
Right. Exactly.
What is one piece of advice you would give to aspiring authors?
I always say I tell a story that before I became an author, I called myself an author.
Mm,
Um, and so I would say, if this is something that you want, you have to start calling yourself the thing that you want to be. And because I did that, I spoke that into my life and my intentions that I became an author. So no matter if it's being an author or whatever else you want to be or just or want to experience, just start giving yourself the title, you know? It's like, "I'm an author, great, and now I'm gonna go through the process of writing the book and going through all the publishing process, and now I have a book. It's not something that I'm only dreaming about or thinking about anymore, is what I became." But you have to call yourself the thing you wanna become first, and then it all just kind of falls into place for you.
yeah, just like we were saying before, it's really about the intention of the thing.
Mhm.
Like, I can't believe I'm not a whatever.
Right.
You haven't tried or said that you will do this thing. Because if you
Mhm.
don't say that you're gonna do it, you're not gonna do it.
Right, and I guess I know, for some people it's like, "Well, it's easier said than done." It is. It is easier said than done, but the thing about it is you have to say it, it's not if you set up barriers and resistance in and put all those things in your way to the thing you wanna become or the dream, then of course you're not gonna become it, because you don't even believe in yourself enough to, um, set the intention and again, like I mentioned earlier in this, conversation, trusting yourself. And it doesn't mean that you trust yourself in every area of your life, but if this is something that you're passionate about, you really want to do, then this is something you can dip your toe in and give it a try, experiment, like you mentioned before. Everything that I've done in my life is an experiment that went well. Something did not go well. A
Mm,
whole lot of things did not go well at all, but I didn't give up. I kept going forward. I learned the lessons and I gathered a lot of wisdom along the way. And I think if we look at it from that perspective, then instead of looking at life as a series of failures and successes, looking at it as a lessons and wisdom that you're learning along the way because you're just smarter because you went through the process.
Yeah, and sometimes the things that you want don't get there the way that you plan them, or they come
Mhm.
in stages, or the
Right.
things that you ultimately want are waiting for you. They're just not in the way that you thought they would happen.
Mhm.
Can't predict how the world will unfold because,
Right.
like we said, it's only you're only in control of what you can control.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Oh, Tamisha says, appreciate that insight, wisdom, and learnings rather than failure.
Mhm. Absolutely. You're
Yeah.
always learning, always growing, always expanding, always, giving yourself I think if you give yourself that grace and become more self-compassionate, then those things that'll rise to the top versus the failures and what other people are saying about you. Um, so give it a try, I call myself my experience my life lab.
Mm.
I just keep
Love it.
experimenting, exploring, experiencing, and sharing the lessons that you've learned along the way.
Yeah. Life tends to give you the things that you ask
Mhm.
it to give you. And that can also be negative, right?
Yes.
If you
Yes.
say, I am bad, I am whatever, and you
Mhm.
just say negative things, life will give you that. It'll just continue to give that to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it will. I mean, it and not just that from, words you say, but what you're feeling. A lot of people don't understand why the good things happen to bad people. Well, I'm sorry, why do bad things happen to good people? Sorry about that. Um, but a lot of times good people are having bad emotions, bad feelings. They're caught up in the negativity of life and negative things kinda happen. That's a hard pill to swallow, but that's really what's happening. Um, you can do good things, but if you're thinking bad things or you're thinking negative things,
Mm,
that's what's gonna manifest in your life.
yeah. But the good news is that you can do the opposite effect, right?
Yes.
You can just change the way that you think, uh, and stuff will tend to follow that pattern.
Mhm.
The energies of the world are listening to whatever you're thinking or putting out, even if you don't say
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's all energetics.
it, even if you don't believe in it.
Right, right.
uh, do you have a challenge that you can present to people in order for them to stand out for themselves?
Hmm. Um, I think I've kind of been sharing it. The challenge is to be more intentional, to be more self-aware, and to know yourself. I when you kind of put those things together, you'll find that, the pathway of life opens up a bit more, and you start to experience more positive results, because you're seeing life differently, not the way society says you should or, your family members say you should, but you just start to fill in the gaps with more positive energy and positive things start to happen for you. So I just challenge you to be more intentional, be more self-aware and discerning so that you can get more of the good things out of life.
Amazing. Well, Samantha, this has been a pleasure talking to you. Can you let people know where they can find you other than
Sure.
Stack? Or
Yes, of course. Um, I am here on Substack. It's Self Care Oasis. You can see it in my profile. My book is at nomorecrumbsdating.com. You can get it there. And I'm on LinkedIn, Samantha Gregory. Just look me up. I'm there. I love to connect with people. And I am starting office hours for self devotion. So, for people who have questions about how to navigate um, the challenges of implementing and integrating self care and self devotion in your life, I'm going to be there to answer questions. And that'll also be on my profile. I think it's more in one of my more recent posts. And it's on LinkedIn. So I would love for you to come. It's going to be on Thursday at noon. It's a private Zoom, and so I will have that information available for you.
amazing. Well, yeah, thanks again for chatting. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure too. Thank you, Kevin, so much for having me on your show.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.